Thank you so much. I'm going to call the Assembly Judiciary Committee back to order and out of recess. We do have all members present, I believe. And so at this time, what I intend to do, pursuant to the, there's an item on the bottom of the agenda that says that that possible work session on measures previously considered can be added to the agenda. And that is in fact what has happened here today. There was not a revised agenda put out because we were in recess. It's still the same agenda as we were working on earlier. So just for clarification, that's why we are still on the 5th revised agenda, and we are considering possible work session on measures previously considered. So I think before we take the last bill that we have today, there were a couple of members who wanted to raise matters, and I guess we can go first to Assemblyman O'Neill.
Chair, I'm asking for a motion to be presented to you. I'd like time. This bill was not on the amendment or not on the agenda at all. I understand about it can come up in the future, but there's a large multi-page amendments here. We just got notified a few minutes ago, 15, 20 minutes ago at best, to get back here to start considering 286. To me, this is no way that we should be conducting business on such an important bill, such a serious bill. And I appreciate parts of this bill, I truly do. But this is at the end of the day, it's a Second Amendment right that can be lost on due to part of this bill. And I would ask that can we at least continue till after Florida, give us time to get together and read this in total.
Thank you, Assemblyman O'Neill. I am not going to recognize that motion at this time. I will note that before we do anything on the bill, we'll go through the work session document, and we do have the sponsor of the bill and 2 others on the call to be able to take us through the amendment to answer any questions. And although you do have a long document in front of you, I think it's only a few items that have been amended from the hearing. So I appreciate the request. I'm going to not recognize that motion at this time. Assemblyman Wheeler, did you want to bring up something as well?
I was going to actually the same exact thing that the Assemblyman Deal did. We've got an 18-page amendment, and I understand on deadline day, things move quickly. But for a bill this important, I think the public should also be engaged, which of course is not happening here with this quickness going on. So I would just like to say the same thing. I'd love to see us come back. Maybe after Florida, just give us an hour or so to go over this thing. But thank you.
I'm sorry, I was muted. So of course that was going to happen on Friday, but thank you, Assemblyman Wheeler. And before I make any additional comments, let me go ahead and just open up the work session on Assembly Bill 286. And before I hand it over to Ms. Thornton, I did just want to address your request and Assemblyman O'Neill's request and indicate that we are going to consider the bill now. And although the document in front of you, I believe you're correct, it's about 18 pages or so. The only new language being added is the language that you'll find in green. So truthfully, it's not very much in terms of the amendment, but we'll have a chance to go through that and answer any questions that you might have. So Ms. Thornton, would you please take us through the work session document that can be found on Nellis on Assembly Bill 286?
Thank you, Chairman. Diane Thornton, Legislative Council Bureau. For the record, Assembly Bill 286 is sponsored by Assemblywoman Howdigy and heard in committee on March 17th. This bill prohibits certain acts relating to firearms. There is one amendment proposed by Assemblywoman Howdigy, and it does the following. First, it revises the requirement for posting a sign warning against possessing a firearm on covered premises. Secondly, it amends the exceptions regarding persons allowed to enter a covered premises to include an officer of a law enforcement agency or a security officer who is required to carry a firearm as part of his or her official duties and who is acting in his or her official capacity, including the observance of a meal or otherwise authorized breaks. It revises the definition of covered premises. And lastly, it amends the definition of a person who is a firearms importer or manufacturer. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thornton. Before I took questions, I did want to give our sponsors of the bill. We have Assemblywoman Howdigy, who is the sponsor, and I think we have a couple other representatives on the Zoom with us. If you wanted to, I wanted to give you a chance to just sort of state in your own words what the amendment effectively does in relation to the bill as we heard it in committee. Assemblywoman Howdige, would you like to do that?
Yes, thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to walk the committee members through the amendments. I had many meetings post-hearing with the members and took many of their concerns into consideration and many concerns that we are still working through. But amendment number 1 revises the requirements of the sign. In the original language, you notice that there was just verbiage that was needed to be included in a conspicuous space, and it said it only had to be in 1-inch block letters. Well, after hearing concerns of the members, we went ahead and stated in the language that you had to post a sign that could not be smaller than 8.5 by 11 inches. And we actually designed what the sign must look like and what verbiage must be included, and specified that it must be posted at every single public entrance to a covered premise that opts into this policy. We also spoke with our law enforcement officers and took their recommendation that they wanted to include an observance of meal or authorized breaks, so that if the language already stated that if they were acting within the scope of their work, that they were allowed to be on premise, they wanted to make sure that their breaks, 15-minute breaks and lunch breaks, were also covered. So we were happy to accommodate that request. And third, we revised the definition of covered premise to include only those that have non-gaming, non-restricted gaming licenses and their affiliates. So that would limit the people who could opt into this policy. And third, in the ghost gun portion, we further defined who an importer and manufacturer was, to clear up that it would be illegal not just for a manufacturer to sell a ghost gun to an individual, but to sell it to another manufacturer as well. And those were the only 4 amendments we made to this bill post-hearing, Chair Yeager. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Howdige. And just to confirm, those are the items that appear in the green language in the amendment?
Assemblywoman Sandra Howdige, for the record. Yes, Chair Yeager, they are. Thank you.
Thank you. So members, before we think about taking a motion, I want to give folks an opportunity to ask questions of our sponsor and of the other 2 we have on the call with us, Ms. Stevenson and Ms. Molina. Are there questions that you'd like to ask about the amendment? Assemblyman O'Neill, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank Ms. Howdige for working on this, and I think she's really come a long way. But in dealing with the officers, you're still talking about only on-duty officers. How about off-duty officers that carry a firearm, particularly officers visiting from out of state that are tourists that have HR 218 privileges? Is there any amendment that you'd consider to allow them?
Thank you, Assemblymember O'Neill. And I recall you asking this question during the hearing as well, and our answer remained the same, that we're not changing anything that is current policy. Right now, an off-duty officer cannot be on a private premise that has a no firearm policy, whether or not they are an officer who happens to be off-duty or have a CCW. So what we don't want to do is change what current practice is. We're only strengthening it by adding teeth.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Assemblyman O'Neill. Do we have further questions for the sponsor of our bill and the amendment? Assemblywoman Gonzalez, sorry, I missed you earlier.
It's okay. Assemblywoman Gonzalez, District 16 for the record. Assemblywoman Howdige, I am prepared to vote this bill out of committee today. However, I just wanted to get on the record the concerns that my colleagues and I addressed to you relating to the enforcement of this bill. And so I just wanted to confirm and get that on the record that you commit to address these concerns.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Gonzalez, for the question. This is Assemblywoman Sandra Howdige, and your concerns are critically important ones. And I've worked with you and your colleagues, and I'm going to continue to work with you and your colleagues. You have my commitment that I will work with you and your colleagues that I've worked with, and those in this committee, and the Assembly members outside of this committee as well, just to address all of your concerns, while still keeping with the intent of the bill, that is to reduce gun violence on the Strip, which we can all agree on is a priority. So you have my commitment as your colleague. And also, if it's okay with you, Chair Yeager, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Molina, Head of Government Affairs with MGM International, so she can weigh in on our commitment to work with this committee as well.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Howdiggy. Welcome, Ms. Molino. I'm sorry, I think I called you Ms. Molina earlier, and that was because I couldn't see the end of your last name on the Zoom screen. So welcome to the Assembly Judiciary Committee, and please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Aisha Molino, Ayeshamolino, and I'm the Senior Vice President for Public Affairs for MCHAM Resorts. And thank you for the question. Absolutely, you have our commitment that we will continue to work with Assemblywoman Howdiggy, as well as all of the members of the Assembly and this committee on finding a solution to the very important concerns that have been raised.
Thank you so much, Ms. Molino. Thank you for the question, Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Members, are there additional questions at this time? And of course, we will have a time to make statements after we take a motion, but this would be a time for additional questions. Okay, I don't see additional questions. So at this time, I'd be looking for a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 286.
I'd so move to amend and do pass.
Do I have a second? Okay, I think like the last bill we considered, we have a motion from Vice Chair Wynn. We have a second from Assemblyman Miller. Now would be the time for discussion on the motion. Who would like to make discussion? Go ahead, Assemblywoman Hardy. We'll start with you.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the work that has gone into this and some of the amendments. There's still some questions I have, and like was mentioned, I want to spend some time reading this, and in hopes that maybe there can be some more work done on this. So I'm going to be a no right now because I just want to spend some more time with this. But I do appreciate what has been done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblywoman Hardy. And again, I will remind committee members, not just on this bill, but on any bill we hear in work session, I would expect that you all would review the amendments once they come out before it gets amended on the floor. And obviously you reserve your right to change your vote. My only request would be that you let me know before we take the vote on the floor so I can just not have any surprises. I have enough in my life already. So well taken comments, Assemblywoman Hardy. Do we have further discussion on the motion? I see Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong has her hand up. We'll go there and then we'll go to Assemblyman Wheeler.
Thank you, Chair Yeager, and thank you, Assemblywoman Howdiggy, for a presentation of this bill. I really appreciate your courage in bringing this bill forward, and I have absolutely no issues, as we've discussed, with the ghost gun portion of this bill. My concerns lie with the lack of verbal notice to visitors who are open carrying or who are discovered to be concealed carrying as they are coming onto property. Specifically as this legislation and its impact and how it could be on the Black community and other communities of color. I have had several opportunities to speak with you. You have assured me that this particular issue of verbal notice will have discussions beginning Monday of next week. I just want to make it clear on the record that the issues that I am concerned about have to do with verbal notice so that we can make sure that those folks who may not see a sign or may not understand the full import of the sign can at least have some conversation. I think so many issues that have to do with how we interact with one another, when we don't speak to one another, when we don't have conversation, when we omit that portion of our interactions as humans, lead to confusion. I don't want anyone to be at risk, but I think that there are opportunities for those who are professionals at these large hotels and holders of full casino privileges. They have opportunities, and I would just like to see that happen so that we don't have people inadvertently hemmed up in the criminal justice system, since the first trespass under this would be a misdemeanor. So thank you so much. I appreciate you working on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Assemblyman Wheeler, please go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I think I've spoken till I'm blue in the face on this bill. I think I'll just hold my comment for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Assemblyman Wheeler. And it does sound like there could be an additional amendment before we get to that point. So we'll see. Hope maybe that will satisfy additional concerns. But I think the sponsor has indicated that she'll keep working on it after today. Maybe take the weekend off and resume on Monday. Do we have additional discussion from committee members on the bill? Going once, going twice. I don't see additional discussion. So again, the motion, members, if you could turn your audio on, please. The motion was to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 286. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
Hey,
And could I think I know who the nays are, but could I have a show of hands, please? I'll read them off for the record. Assemblywoman Kasama, Assemblywoman Hardy, Assemblyman O'Neill, Assemblyman Hanson, Assemblywoman Krasner, Assemblyman Wheeler. That is 6 nays, 9 yeses. A motion does carry. Assemblywoman Howdiggy, I'll give you the floor statement on that. And again, want to thank you for your willingness to keep working on this bill past today's deadline. Certainly appreciate it and hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Chair Yeager and committee members.
Thank you. So that'll close our work session. Committee, one thing I wanted to say, a lot of hard work goes into this work session document and getting us ready. And certainly members, you have a role to play in getting us through these agendas as well. But I just wanted to recognize our staff who I think works a lot harder than all of us know. And in particular this week, our staff that we have here in committee, Ms. Thornton, Mr. Wilkinson, and then our committee manager, Ms. Huffiger, and assisting Ms. Thornton is Ms. Kalina, and then Ms. Coombs as well. So I can tell you they've been up like all hours of the night preparing this work session document so we could get through it in a timely manner. And I know that because when I text them or email them at like 1 a.m, they respond immediately. So I just wanted to recognize their hard work. If you or members of the public appreciate the way that Assembly Judiciary Committee is run, that is a testament to the staff who just works really, really hard, especially in this virtual environment. And I don't want to leave out as well our committee secretaries. They're sort of behind the scenes, and since we're not in a room together, we don't see them. But we have Karen Warner, Jordan Carlson, and Tracy Dory, who has been pulling double duty and covering a lot of these days. I want to thank them. And then Linda Whipple does our committee minutes, and Melissa Loomis is our committee assistant. So I don't know if we can really do it on Zoom, but maybe a virtual round of applause for all the work that they do. And I want to say thank you because it makes my life extraordinarily easy. And I think it helps us get through these meetings. So wanted to take that opportunity to say thank you. We don't say it enough, as well as our BPS staff who is here every day, sort of the voice of God helping us through these meetings. We appreciate you as well. So here's where we go from here. I'm going to let you know we are not going to have a Judiciary Committee meeting on Monday. So Monday is going to be canceled. We only have 3 Senate bills in our committee right now that we could hear next week. So I think we'll probably try to hear those at some point. I'm just not sure when. But for now, don't plan on a Monday meeting because we won't be here. And again, committee, I don't anticipate we're going to take up any more additional measures today, but just in an abundance of caution, I'm going to recess to the call of the chair, and we will let you know just as soon as we can when we adjourn so that you're not waiting around for judiciary. So hope everyone enjoys their lunch. We'll see you on floor as soon as these morning committees are done, and then I'm sure I'll see some of you in the afternoon. So have a great rest of the day and a great weekend, everybody.
Hi, everyone.